Welcome to the Artist Check-In. I'm your host, Nick Zano. My day job is talking to artists, mostly comedians for different publications, which means I know a lot of people whose livelihoods have been impacted by the quarantine associated with the COVID-19 pandemic. This is a limited series for which I'll be talking with comedians, musicians, sound engineers, authors, and creative people about how they're handling this personally and professionally. Up first is Dave Rattigan, comedian, booker, and teacher. I know you mainly as a journalist and a booker.
Yep.
But I feel like there's probably a lot more that you do.
Well, I'm a comedian first,
Uh-huh.
then a booker second. But I'm also, at the same time, almost like a parallel universe thing. I'm a teacher. I'm a faculty member, adjunct faculty member at UMass Lowell and at Northern Essex Community College.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been at Northern Essex since 2001, and I've been at UMass Lowell since 2018. And I do various communications classes, including public speaking, professional communications, personal communications, public relations, and mass communication. I think that's all of them.
So you're experiencing upheaval in everything that you do.
Everything in my life
right now.
Yeah, I like a lot of people. I had to. I'm not as bad as some people when it comes to online technology, but I'm sure not good. And for example, this morning, to make sure that I had a recording of my class, I thought I had it, and then somehow it disappeared off the desktop, and I had to wake up my 14-year-old to come in and find it for me and save it.
I think that this is bringing generations together in that way.
Yeah, it brings us together as equals or less than equals.
Yeah, in the technology.
So basically, I've got the comedian booker thing on one side, and then I've got the teaching on the other. I haven't really written since the Globe North folded. Once in a while I'll stick something in a trade magazine, but and I wrote a script last year for a short film.
Mm-hmm. Did that get produced?
It's midway through. We're in the post-production process, but it's sort of stalled in the post-production process.
Mm-hmm.
I know why, and I don't know why. So, I thought it was great, and then other people weren't so wild about it, and then we brought it to somebody, and he had a recommendation that we actually liked. And now we're waiting for him, but he is taking a long time. And you would think if you were going to edit, you'd have time to do it now because. I understand too. You've always got the thing with low budget projects where somebody can always make more money doing something else. Right.
Well, and now is the time to be releasing content for people to watch at home. Right. That's you're getting this outpouring.
Yeah. I just had a friend send me something from California that was pretty funny, and. I share Steve Sweeney's stuff. I share Justin McKinney's stuff when he sent it to me. I try to move stuff around for everybody who I'm friends with. And I actually might do something on from a comedian standpoint. There are a couple things I'm doing now. For one thing, I'm applying for loans, the federal SBA loan. Mm-hmm. I applied for that. I applied for federal relief as well in the COVID-19 process that they have. I think I'm going to be, if this keeps going, I'll probably be collecting unemployment this summer instead of doing comedy. Mm-hmm. Generally in the summer, I have comedy only, and I take a break from teaching, and we do the Hampton Beach Comedy Festival, for example, Jimmy Dunn and I. And we hope we're going to continue, but right now, that's up in the air because we don't know how long this is going to last. Some projections say it's going to go into next fall. Some projections say that are a lot more optimistic. They say a couple of months, but I think unless you're a CDC person, Center for Disease Control or National Institute of Health, you don't really have, you really don't have a handle on it. And I think even them, I think they're still doing a certain amount of educated guesswork.
Well, Emily Burkowski had a good point, I think, on the I'm Fine broadcast that Kelly McFarland and Dan Crone are doing. Mm-hmm. I think every weekday now. She had said that things are probably going to return to normal in stages, even when the lockdown is lifted. People are probably going to be tentative about certain things for a while.
Yeah.
So it's going to be.
Do you remember after 9/11? I remember going to a Red Sox game and just being nervous and being a little hyper vigilant and looking around and thinking, could something happen here? You had a lot of people and then nothing happened. And we just saw a baseball game. And then nothing happened again, and nothing happened again, and nothing happened to the comedy show, and nothing happened at this large gathering and that large gathering. And eventually it was just, you went on with your life. And hopefully that's what this was going to happen here. But it depends on, first the question is when it first happened, I thought, well, we'll just move them back we'll move our shows back a couple of months. And
well, let's go back to that, because I remember it was about a month ago that things were starting to sort of brew, and then it was around St. Patrick's Day, and I remember posting on Facebook, who's having gigs canceled, and I think we spoke shortly after that, and I think while we were speaking, you were saying it's 7, no 8, 9 gigs canceled now. Things that you had booked with other comedians.
Yeah, and it's funny. I don't know my 2019 figures, but in 2018, I had $30,000 worth of business booked in March and April, and obviously a lot of that money went to the comics. It didn't go to me, or it went to, you know what I'm saying. A lot of it went to other comedians. So, this year would have probably been about the same. And that's a lot of money that comedians didn't make, but it's also a lot of money. I do a lot of fundraisers, and it's a lot of money that those fundraising organizations didn't make. And it wasn't just my organizations. It's a lot of charitable groups that do things in March and April because they're really good months for comedy. You don't butt into the graduation season, and you're not in the bad weather. So they tend to be really good weather, and people are a little stir crazy, and fundraisers tend to do really well. And I heard somebody on TV talking about this, and what he said was that come September and October, when we're allowed to go out again, first you've got people, will they be comfortable going into hotels? Will they be comfortable going into function rooms and into large gatherings of people? Or are they still going to be skittish about that? And then the second thing you have is that all of the fundraisers that do their fundraising in October and November anyway, if everything goes over into September, or September, October, November, all of a sudden you're going to have all these competing interests competing over the dollars, really, and support. So you're going to have, I look at two things. I look at, based on last year, I think if I had $30,000 worth of business, that's a lot of fundraisers. And that means that all of those fundraisers were not making the $2,000, $3,000, $18,000 that they make. So there's a lot of people, a lot of comedians don't make money. Groups, good causes don't make money. And then when they do reschedule, and hopefully they will, I know some of them have already said, we're just going to skip this year, we're going to do next year. But the ones that reschedule to the fall, they're now going to be competing with other people. And I think it is going to be interesting. Do people come out a week at a time? Or, when it first happened in March, I thought, well, we'll take a couple of months off, and then everybody's going to want to go out. And it'll be a busier June than we normally have, and maybe a busier summer.
And you're working with a lot of venues like bars and restaurants and things that you're booking comedy into, correct? So you've got a lot of smaller business. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you first about this, because you have sort of a macro view of this as a comedian, and as somebody who books comedians, and as somebody who works with the venues. So you'll know what the venues are going through, and you'll know what the comedy. You kind of know what everybody's going through. And
and I can tell you, I won't tell you which place it is, but one of my venues I called up and I said, hey, let's do something this summer. And the manager said, I'm not sure if we're going to reopen.
Yeah. And
I think that's going to be the case with a lot of restaurants. If you've got a restaurant that's not going great guns, they're going to go under. And even a lot that were doing well without looking at their books, you never know how anybody's doing, and you don't know if they're going to look and they're going to say, I'm an older guy. I don't really feel like doing this anymore.
Yeah.
So I think the longer it goes, the bigger the hurt is on people, then the more you're going to have ramifications. And I think unfortunately, I think you're going to have closings of restaurants. I know we're going to have some. I don't know how many, and hopefully it won't be that many.
A lot of small businesses.
Yeah,
just because you can't be open right now, even no matter what you are, unless you're, some restaurants can at least do takeout, and some I think are doing okay. I think some are getting by with that, but
I wonder if they are. Tough. I mean, I don't. Again, without looking at the numbers, it's hard for me to say, and without looking at the volume of, I haven't got takeout. I think I've gotten takeout once in 3 weeks because it's cheaper to eat. It's cheaper to cook here.
Yeah, well,
I picked up Dunkin' Donuts here and there because, when you think about good public health, you think about Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, well, because I don't think that the virus could survive on the surface of a Dunkin' Donut.
Yeah,
so I think we've got that going for us.
That might be. I love Dunkin' Donuts, but I just remember that. Send the hate mail to Nick Zano.
No, I just think there's nothing natural about a Dunkin' Donuts. Like that old Steve Martin routine about you go in and they got that big vat in the back where everything comes from. Here's your here's your burger, here's your shake, here's your change, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I think that's the negative scenario. The positive scenario might be that some places might, once people are away from it, they might realize they really missed it. And maybe when they come back, they'll come back with a vengeance. That's what you hope for. You really don't want, you don't want anyone to lose their job. You don't want people to lose the place they go to hang out or the place they go for a nice meal once a year. So that's what you're basically hoping that you're hoping against hope that we're going to get the scenario where people get by and they reopen and people are happy to have them and there's a new appreciation for life and all that stuff.
Yeah, I know from our perspective, we've been trying. I loaded up on food, but there's also always that sort of feeling that, we could survive for another month or so without ever having to leave the house. But there's always that feeling of, when is the real lockdown coming? Do I need to keep restocking? Yeah.
Well, they're saying now, it's like, don't go to the grocery store. I wish they had told me 2 days ago. Because, I stocked. And honestly, by accident, I went to BJ's before this all started. So I have plenty of toilet paper. But every time I go to the grocery store, I look in the aisle and there's nothing there. There's no toilet paper. There's no paper towels. There's no Kleenex. And I'm okay for a couple of weeks, but it's been a long time that I've been looking for toilet paper just in case, and I would have bought just another 12 pack or whatever. But there is that question of how much hoarding is going on, and why aren't people producing more toilet paper?
Yeah, well, because apparently they can. I looked into this, and apparently the toilet paper factories. Like a weird thing to think of, it's just.
Well, I was thinking
like
how weird it is.
Willy Wonka and the toilet factory thing, where they they run 24 hours a day already. Apparently,
it's weird that you looked into this.
Oh, because I was wondering why don't they just ramp up production? And apparently they're at capacity.
They're at full capacity.
And they're always apparently at full capacity. Apparently, they always just run 24 hours a day. So they'd have to build more factories.
Well, actually, it makes sense
to do it.
They would be churning it out at all points because we're churning it out at all points.
Well, and the other point about that is people were saying people are hoarding. I read something about this. I'm not sure how true it is, but it makes sense to me. People are hoarding toilet paper. So now toilet paper companies. They're getting a lot of cash right now, but everybody's overcompensated for how much they're going to need. So 2 months from now, nobody's going to be buying toilet paper.
That's really funny. That's a really funny idea. I mean, it's a funny reality, but it's an ironic reality. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You don't think about it that way, but yeah, you're probably right. I mean, people are gonna. I don't know though. I think.
It's impossible if you're a business right now to predict what your business model is going to be in a month, 2 months, 6 months
Right.
from now. Much less somebody who's an independent contractor like yourself and comedians and musicians.
Yeah, it is. It's really tough to figure out. I've been just trying to book, and I've been contacting people and just saying, listen, let's book something, and it may not happen. We might have to cancel, but let's put it on the books, and that way we'll have something to look forward to.
Well, how can people help? How can anybody who's listening to this, if they want to help a comedian, or if they want to help you specifically, what is there anything people can do?
Not really. I mean, not for me. I mean, I think for other people, I know that there are some people who are really hurting. And what's the fund that Janet McNamara started? There was a fund for Boston comedians that she started a couple of years ago I don't think she started, but I think she's one of the people who helped run it.
The people have been trying to get something sort of up and going like that with all the people who've been through medical problems here, and we've lost a bunch of comedians over the past decade.
Yeah, and there've been some, and there are going to be some that are just in really tough shape because of this. And they're, look at the cruise ships. I mean, if the cruise industry takes a hit, then there'll be more than if the cruise industry takes a hit, there are going to be a lot of comedians out of work. Yeah. And they'll be coming back to Boston where the money is less anyway. And then they'll be fighting for those headline spots. And that's going to have that's going to have an effect on everybody, because everyone's going to get everyone's going to get bumped. So when it comes time to get work, you're going to be competing with more people, and you're going to be competing for hopefully the same number of jobs, but you never know.
I need to check in with Don Gavin, because he just moved down to Florida to do.
Yeah, I think Gav's okay. Gav's okay. But yeah, he'll probably be a little bored. I mean, he goes from Boston, where he knows everybody and he can get on wherever he wants, whenever he wants. And then he goes down to Florida, and he probably has the same situation there. But all of a sudden, he's not going out in the boats. So it'll be a change for him. It'll be a change for all of us. I mean, right now, because of the challenge of doing this stuff online as a professor, I'm occupied. I'm occupied right now. I'm kind of trying to learn an awful lot in a small amount of time, and I'm also trying to deliver education in an effective way. I mean, I think somebody told me it takes like 4 months to design an online class, and I had a week.
Do it in a day or two.
Yeah, I did. I had one full week. And I've had so many trainings, and I'm just, at this point, my mind is confused. I'm like King Kong on top of a building with planes going by, but those planes are thoughts, and they're shooting at me.
But now you've learned this technology. Do you expect that your experience of anything you do will be different once we're through this?
Well, I hope so. I mean, one of my goals for this semester was to learn how to be better as an online teacher. So this is going to force me to get better as an online teacher. Of course, I did it because I wanted to do it because I thought it would make me more competitive in the job market. But now everyone's getting this training. Right. So I think what's going to happen is I think some people are going to be horrible at it. Some people are going to be good at it. And some people like me will get by the skin of my teeth. And at least I hope I get by. But I think that, like I said, in the time that I don't spend doing this, I try to get out so that I don't go stir crazy. I try to walk in the woods often with my 14-year-old daughter. And I'm just trying to keep my body together, and maybe even, get some improvement, get a little more exercise, get a little more rest, which has not been the case. I'm one of those people who isn't sleeping very well because the sleep clock is off. Yeah. But I'm hoping to get that under control, and I'm really looking at it as a chance to be a little more, to take it as an opportunity to rest a little bit. I'm not driving, which is a nice thing. I might drive out to a reservation, or if I can find one that's open, or I can go for a walk. But basically I'm not driving to Lowell, and I'm not driving to Lawrence, and I'm not driving to Haverhill, and so that part of it's actually kind of a welcome thing. I'm just trying to use it as a period of renewal and revitalization.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are trying to look at the small blessings
Yeah,
that
yeah,
are coming out of the larger sort of tragedy or crisis.
right. I think a lot of us are gonna. This will be over, and we'll think, "Hey, I never wrote that novel that I didn't write the year before, and the year before, and the year before."
Yeah, I feel bad for the people who get through this and still didn't write the novel.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of us. That'll be a lot of us if history is any indicator. But I think a lot of people will come out with scripts or novels or new material, and like I said, depending on how long it lasts, we can see some really good creative material come out. And I think a lot of people are trying to reach their fans through through platforms like this, platforms like Zoom and Skype, and just posting things online and doing little short films and things like that. I know that I'm rolling around in my head the idea of doing something on YouTube in which I basically just host a show, sort of a host in a Zoom sense, and maybe pick out things that I like that other artists have done, and just kind of say, hey, here are my recommendations for things that you might want to see. And then boom, up comes a band, boom, up comes maybe a magician. I've seen a couple of magicians whose stuff is pretty good. The Bishop Stang High School Chorus. I don't know if you've seen this, but they've got a video conference version of Happy Together, which is an old Turtle song.
Yeah.
And they do a really nice job. It's a really nice job. I mean, they hit these harmonies and it sounds beautiful. But there are a lot of creative things that people are doing. And there's a lot of things that people who are doing that are doing right now that are, they're still learning they're still learning the technology, they're still learning the medium. The stuff is not as good. And so one thing I've thought about is just the idea of, once I get the online class right, and just doing something on social media that involves kind of like just maybe like I said, hosting a quote unquote show that have like a variety of acts.
Just curating the things that are coming out of this.
Yeah, more or less curating. People who do comedy, I mean, even Bill Maher, I saw Bill Maher's show, and he did it from his backyard, and I think they videotaped it on a phone, at least one segment on a phone, and or video recorded. And he did the jokes. He did his opening monologue with canned laughter, and then he did a bit at the end. The New Rules bit is what he calls it. It's a funny bit generally. And it was funny, but there was no laugh track, so it was really, really strange.
Well, you're seeing all of the big late night shows now. You're seeing Colbert and Fallon and everybody doing stuff from home. So all the big shows look like everybody's cable access show now.
Yeah,
they look a great equalizer.
They look a little bit better than that, but yeah, I know what you mean. I haven't seen any of those. I mean, I saw the first time I saw the advertisers was then, and that's what Maher's show looked like. Maher just had an interview, and then he had an interview, and they both looked like this, where you've got one, Maher on one side in his living room, and then somebody on the other side. I don't know. I mean, I'll have to check them out to see if I like them. But I think when people do comedy without the audience, you're losing that energy. You're losing the laugh response, and I think, when I watch it, at least in my living room, I always think I can appreciate a joke, but I appreciate a joke more when people are laughing.
Right. Zoom at least offers a little bit of that, because everybody can keep their mics unmuted, and if you have a bunch of people in the room, you can hear a little bit of that. And that's what I think I've enjoyed. I'll get back to you whether I've enjoyed this or not. No, I've enjoyed some of the things the comics have been doing, hanging out. That's the stuff that Kelly McFarland and Dan Crone doing the I'm Fine show, and the Virtual Comedy Network has gotten comedians together to talk to each other, and I think that's been nice for people to see. But you really do understand how much comedy needs an audience by watching somebody try to do it alone from their basement.
Yeah. I remember during the writer's strike, I don't know if you remember this way back then, but Letterman, I think, had a show that was not written by writers. I don't know who wrote it, but the stuff just wasn't as good.
Yeah.
And he was at the top of his game back then. And I remember thinking, oh, all right, this is how it would be without writers making them look great.
Yeah, you realize how important the writers are, and which I think was probably part of his point too, to show, hey, this is what we need to make this show what you expect.
Yeah, I mean it's everything. It's the band, but it's the energy in the room, and even like a TV show. A lot of these TV shows, you're so far from the audience that it's nothing like a club. But they're hyped up. They're happy to be there. They're all over stuff. And so I know that a couple people have done, trying to think of what show it was, different shows, and they've come back and they've talked about being on the show. And they've said, I think with Jimmy Dunn did Letterman, was it Jimmy Dunn or was it Mike Kaplan? But one of them said, they came in and they said, sometimes the audience, this audience is going to be really good, and they might throw you off with the applause breaks.
Mm-hmm.
And he went up there and he killed, and he actually said that the applause breaks were thrown off his timing, because there was, the joke that would get a laugh in a club around here was getting a laugh and an applause break, and then you have to hold and hold and hold. And
right, because those sets are so highly calibrated for, 4 minutes and 23 seconds that if the audience holds, then you've got to, on the fly, figure out what to cut.
Yeah, exactly.
So where can people find, keep track of what you're doing, and when things get back to normal, find the shows that you're booking and the shows that you're doing?
Well, my company is Scamps Comedy, Scamp like a rascal, SCAMPS. You can also think of the Scam PS, if that helps. But I'm on
your view of comedy.
Yeah. I'm on Facebook, and I'm online, and also Dave Rattigan. I might take the plunge if we're stuck long enough. I might figure out the technology and start a comedian page. But right now, it's just my personal page is my fan page, is my page, and I plug my gigs there. And I'm always easy to reach.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time to I don't know, is there a verb for it, to Zoom with me for the podcast?
Thank you, Nick. Always good to talk to you, man. Hang in there. Stay safe.
You too.